A very good evening to one and all. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the very first episode of a three-part series of Healthy Mind, Stress-Free Life. I am Amita K and I will be your host for this special series brought to you by Jamia Singapore Women Department and Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca. A brief introduction about myself. I am the General Manager at SalesWorks Private Limited, a leading expert in face-to-face marketing. SalesWorks works with over 35 voluntary welfare organizations across the region, signing over 10,000 donors every month. I also work very closely with corporate clients in developing strategies in how to increase their market share. Today's talk show, Healthy Mind, Stress-Free Life, is brought to you jointly in collaboration by Women Department, Jamia Singapore and Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca. I'm hereby honored to invite Madam Aisha Osman, Chairman, Women Department, Jamia Singapore, and Datuk Wira Rotwana, CEO, Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca, to say a few words.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening, all our viewers. On behalf of Jamia Singapore Women's Department, I would like to welcome all of you to our virtual talk show entitled Healthy Mind, Stress-Free Life. Jamia Singapore is a non-profit organization that has been around for more than 88 years. It extends its service arms to those in need, regardless of race, language, or religion, especially during this difficult time. The Women's Department of Jamia Singapore was formed in the 70s, and its objectives is to promote the physical, intellectual, emotional, and social well-being of women and family in the community. Hence, when we saw how COVID-19 pandemic hit many lives in Singapore and around the globe, we want to do our part to help the community. We realized that the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted in almost all aspects of our personal, social, economic, and community lives. One such area that the pandemic impacted seriously is on mental health related issues. Some of the common mental health issues surfaced involve psychological and emotional distress as a result of the current circumstances. Although the pandemic has affected everyone in all age groups, there has been a lot of buzz about the impact on women and youth. In fact, Jamia Singapore's Community Outreach and Development Department that provides free counselling has seen an increase in the number of mental health related cases such as family violence, financial issues, and so forth. In light of this, the Women's Department of Jamia Singapore collaborated with Putra Specialist Hospital in Malacca to bring a 3-episode virtual health talk show where we hope to address factors that contributed to the mental stress, especially amongst women as they execute their multitude roles. Also, to share some coping mechanism in caring for self and other members of the family. So, in the first episode, we will look into self-care and positive thinking. For the second episode, we will cover mental health of elderly and caregivers. Finally, in the last episode, we will cover positive mindsets for children, youth, and parents. On behalf of the Women's Department, I would like to thank President of Jamia Singapore, Datuk Dr. Muhammad Hazbi Abu Bakar, for entrusting this task of organizing the talk show to us. My gratitude also goes to Dato' Wira Redwana, CEO of Putra Specialist Hospital, for initiating this talk show and collaborating with us. To all our acclaimed speakers for the 3 episodes, thank you for taking your precious time off your busy schedule to share with our viewers your knowledge, experiences, and advice. To our positively charged host, Ms. Amita K, we really appreciate you coming forward to help us. And for all our viewers, a big thank you for supporting our talk show. Thank you for being with us and stay safe.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and warm greeting from Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca, Sdn Bhd. I am Datuk Wira Radwana binti Saleh, Chief Executive Officer of Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca, Sdn Bhd, Malaysia. On behalf of Board Directors, the management, dedicated healthcare professional, and staff of Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca, Sdn Bhd, it is a pleasure for me to introduce our hospital to all the viewers. Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca, Sdn Bhd is proud to celebrate our 25th anniversary in year 2020. Our 241-bedded hospital is fully equipped with the latest state-of-the-art equipment. During the challenging situation that we are facing today with the spread of COVID-19, we would like to share our heartfelt support and solidarity with all the viewers on the level of awareness and preparedness within ourselves, our family members, among our friends and community members to cope with this situation. Through this virtual talk show, Healthy Mind, Stress-Free Life, Putra Specialist Hospital, Malacca, Sdn Bhd is proud to present our specialist doctors with wide experience in their field to share their knowledge on their respective topics. We do hope that this virtual talk could give greater impact and benefit all the viewers to continue to practice healthy and happy lifestyle with your loved ones despite challenging situation we are facing. With this, I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Aisha, as well as Dato' Wira Radwana. Viewers, I'm sure you are keen to know what would we be discussing today. Let us see what's on today. As you will see on Healthy Mind, Stress-Free Life, today we are going to talk about self-care and positive thinking. I'm sure everyone will agree that in the COVID-19 pandemic, millions of people around the world have been impacted. In fact, actually, a lot of people are being impacted even in how they carry on with their day-to-day life, as well as with the closing of borders and restricted and limited movement within borders. This has really affected the emotional and mental well-being of many. Today, with the help of our panelists, we are going to get some advice, and do remember they are the experts and professionals in this field. They're going to share with us the common stress factors that has affected many due to the COVID pandemic. Also, we are going to look into the stress factors brought in by the new normal. And the good part is we will be exploring mechanisms on how to overcome these stress factors by coming up with positive thinking as well as building our resilience. So viewers, before I continue and introduce my panelists, let me just share with you that please feel free to add your comments as well as concerns below in the comment section, so that we can read and address as many concerns as we can by our panelists. Before I continue, let me just introduce our panelists. We have an impressive list of panelists with us tonight. Let us welcome our panelists, and do remember we have both local and international speakers with us. So let me welcome Datuk Dr. M. Swaminathan, Associate Professor of Psychiatry and HOD of Psychiatry Department, Malacca Manipal Medical College, Malacca. Welcome, Datuk.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Let me welcome Dr. John Shepherd Lim, Chief Wellbeing Officer of Singapore Counselling Centre. Welcome, Dr. John.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
And now, let me welcome Ustaz Nizi Wahid, Founder and CEO of Safina Holdings. Thank you for joining us. Dear panelists and speakers, thank you so much for being here today and joining us. Welcome to the show. Before we move into the actual topic, just want to share something with you which will lead us into the topic today. Gentlemen, as we have just seen, I think it's a bit sad. So based on today's topic, could you please share your overview? Let me first start with Datuk. Datuk, over to you. Could you please share with us meaning of stress and stress factors in the COVID pandemic?
Okay, thanks, Amita, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen and friends. Okay, let me start by saying what is mental health is all about. Okay, according to the definition of health by the WHO, mental health is a component of good health. In order to get a good mental health, WHO has identified 10 core life skills, which is important for us to lead a meaningful quality life in this world. And what are the 10 components of core health issues, core skills? First one is understanding yourself or self-awareness. Second is understanding others or empathy. Communication skills, interpersonal relationship, problem-solving skills, decision-making skills, creative thinking, critical thinking, dealing with emotions, and dealing with stress. So dealing with stress is one of the core life skills in order to have a good mental health. So what is the meaning of stress? Stress is a perception. How your mind perceives and interprets a particular event or experience decides stress. When an event that is perceived in your mind evokes negative emotions such as anger, anxiety, depression, or worries, then that event is being interpreted in a negative manner. That is why we are experiencing negative emotions. But on the other hand, if you feel that this is part of life, this is bound to occur. Okay, this is something that I should look for. This is something that I have to adapt to. Then we are not experiencing stress. Then stress is you are dealing very well with stress, or you're coping very well with stress. So stress is your perception towards an event or experience. So ladies and gentlemen, no one can make you stressed without your permission. It is you who decide whether you want to be stressed because of an event or an experience. Of course, this COVID pandemic has evoked a lot of negative response in almost all of us over the last 1 year. So let us see what are the factors about this COVID pandemic that has evoked negative responses. Over the last 1 year, okay, we are not living in this world. We are struggling to live. So our mindset has changed from one of living to survival. Okay, are we going to tide over it and lead a normal life? So this is the first challenge that we are facing. The other challenges that we are facing because of this COVID pandemic will be decreased job security, decreased financial status, and then fear of our own health, fear of the health of our beloved ones, loneliness, where social distancing is being promoted. Okay, and then also a lot of uncertainties. We are not still many questions are not not answered about this COVID issue. Even this vaccine that has come, still a lot of questions to be answered. Is it efficacious? Is it effective? Is it safe in the short term and long term? So there's a lot of issues that that still unanswered about this COVID issue. So a lot of uncertainties. So all these are plaguing to make our mental well-being to be put at stake. So in the later session, I'll be discussing about how we are going to manage this. So I'll get back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dato'. In fact, I really learned something about the 10 core life skills, as well as I didn't realize this, that stress is a perception. I think it's really good. And the other point where nobody can stress you except if you allow yourself to be stressed. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dato'. Thank you. And now to Dr. John Lim. Dr. John, what's your overview of today's topic?
Thank you very much. Indeed, mankind is going through a very difficult time during this season. The COVID-19 has come very suddenly, and humankind is not actually prepared for it. And jobs have been adversely impacted, assets, financial well-being has been impacted, as well as relationships. And during this time, many countries have reported an increase filings for separations and divorces. And then, of course, it has taken a tremendous toll on the mental health. So a number of people has already been going through some mental health challenges pre-COVID. So the COVID-19 has actually exacerbated the condition. So the common mental health issues that people generally face is number one, worry and anxiety. So during this time, people are worried about being infected, dying from the infection, or losing loved ones to the infection. So I want to encourage you not to visualize yourself being infected or dying from the infection, because it's going to take a tremendous toll on your mental health. Now, in no way am I saying you should be nonchalant about it. No, not at all. Be vigilant, practice social distancing, a high standard of personal hygiene, wear a mask, and follow the advisories very closely. But do not visualize yourself catching the virus and dying from it. And of course, people are worried about their job security. It is believed that many jobs will not come back post-COVID because the disruptions has been quite severe. And then, of course, so this worrying and prolonged worrying actually leads to anxiety. And anxiety is a very difficult emotion. And prolonged anxiety can lead to anxiety disorders. And people can suffer anxiety attack, panic attacks, etc. So when they reach that stage, counseling may not be so effective. They may have to see professionals like Dato', who will prescribe medication like antidepressants, etc. But like I say, prevention is better than cure. So we need to be mindful of this. Yes, we do worry, we do feel anxious, but we must be mindful that the anxiety must not be prolonged because it can lead to anxiety disorders. So the other mental health challenge, even during this time, is depression. Now, depression affects everybody, regardless of their physical age. Children do feel depressed as well. So it's one thing to feel depressed, it's another thing to sink into clinical depression. So depression is actually a downward spiral of great negativity. So we have to be mindful of that. And of course, every one of us do feel stress, and especially during this time because we face a lot of uncertainties. Now, rather than wishing that we can reach a point that we feel stress-free, because as long as we are alive, we will encounter stress. So very quickly, there are 4 types of stress. One is positive stress, known as eustress. For example, when you gear up to a highly anticipated event, there's excitement, you're looking forward to it, or you're planning on a dream holiday, that's positive stress. and there is a negative stress or distress. The feelings is unpleasant, we feel threatened, and we feel our sense of well-being and being threatened. So it's negative. So the other two forms of stress is this: controllable stress and uncontrollable stress. So remember this, our greatest natural asset is not so much the house we live in, the money, the bank account, but our limited reservoir of energy. So how we direct our energy every single day will determine the outcomes and the returns on our life. So let's take a quick pause. We have to identify the stress that we're going through. Is it controllable or uncontrollable stress? Uncontrollable stress means things we can do actively, proactive actions that we can take. So during this time of the pandemic, the controllable stress includes we can wear a mask when we head out, observe physical distancing, and so when it comes to uncontrollable stress, do remember these are factors not within your control. So you just have to look away from the uncontrollable stress. There's nothing you and I can do about it, and focus on the other area. I'll come back to you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. John. And so, what did I learn? Okay, not to visualize yourself being infected or dying of COVID. Thank you so much. That doesn't mean don't be vigilant. Be vigilant and follow all the advised measures. And most importantly, look at the controllable stress and uncontrollable stress. Don't focus on the uncontrollable stress, but focus on the controllable stress.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and now let's move to Ustaz Nizi Wahid. Thank you so much. And your overview on today's topic, please.
Thank you so much, Amita. I've learned a lot too from the first two speakers. They are the experts here. Well, for me, how I dealt with the stress when the pandemic happened, I think when Singapore went into a lockdown, so to speak, circuit breaker period, I just came back from travel overseas. And so from complete freedom to having to stay at home, stay home notice for 2 weeks, the entire family. That was also the time when everything was work from home. There was also the time when my kids had home-based learning. So it was pretty challenging having to adapt to all of these new changes very, very quickly. A part of us, I'm pretty sure, felt like, when your boss said, oh, we're going to work from home, some of you were celebrating, right? High-fiving each other, punching the sky. You were like, wow, this is really cool. I don't have to dress up. I don't have to get up so early in the morning. I don't have to put on makeup, right, Amita? I can just work from home. But then, you know what? I heard from a lot of people, they said that, in fact, after a month and a half, they actually felt very sick, very uneasy, very restless being at home all of the time. They wanted to go out. And so, what happened, like some of the statistics shared earlier about the rising number of divorces, separations, family violence, abuse, and people falling into depression, I think it's because they were suddenly not able to do the things that they were able to do, number one. Number two, yes, a man and a woman may love each other, they can be married to each other, they love each other, but they don't love each other to the point where they want to see each other 24/7, if you know what I mean, right? Some of them, going out for work, it's healthy. Going out and doing other stuff, with friends, perhaps, not overdoing it, of course. It's healthy, it's good. Sometimes the fondness grows when you're apart, as the saying goes. So imagine having to stay in that environment 24/7. But that's not the worst example. I think, I feel really, really sad when I saw some statistics that showed a few months into COVID-19, showing that there were actually a lot of people, individuals, especially those who were voiceless, like children, or the elderly, or people with certain disabilities, that if they were living in an abusive environment, negative, emotionally abusive, mentally abusive, they didn't really have anywhere to go, no one else to turn to. And I think that got things worse. But I know that there are many parties now doing a lot of things. There have been a ton of programs, and this is another amazing one tonight that is addressing issues of mental health. It is definitely a conversation that needs to continue in order to create more awareness so that we understand how we can support our loved ones, but more importantly, to help ourselves. So during that time when we were really overwhelmed by the need to do so many things, everything at home, I think if there's one thing that really helped us to cope with that time, it was the fact that we had routines. Yeah, I think routines can be pretty helpful. For example, if you're a religious person, I think prayer a few times a day really is the anchor of your days and weeks and months, being stuck at home. Family activities, having meal times being set, like, okay, we're always going to have dinner at 6 or 6:30 or 7, and the family gathers around, everybody sits together and eat together. And I think that's good, Some of you, your routine could be working out. In the early days when you were not allowed to go out, not encouraged to go out, you would work out at home. But knowing that the first thing I do when I wake up, I'm going to pray, I'm going to work out, and so on and so forth, gives you a sense of, structure in a world outside there where there's complete uncertainty. Like Dr. John said, the uncontrollable stress. I can't control how the economy works. I can't control how my investments are affected by COVID-19. I can't control whether I'm going to keep my job or not. These are things beyond my ability to control. And in my programs, I teach a program called The Art of Letting Go. And I think this is about the uncontrollable stress that we cannot do anything about. So I hope viewers, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I hope these opening presentations by the three of us gives you a rough idea about what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ustaz Mizi. So, a bit of too much, it's not good. I'm sure, yes, I think a lot of us probably were like, I wish I could work from home before COVID. Yeah, a lot of people have had that conversation with me, and then when we were like, okay guys, everyone has to work from home, and everyone was excited and all that, and then as you rightly said, as it was days, weeks, months, everyone was like, when are we going to go to work? And yes, as you said, 24/7. Do we want to put up with each other at home? Probably not.
Because the likelihood of you actually, having an argument is higher, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So thank you so much. Totally can resonate. I'm sure the viewers can resonate as well. So thank you so much, Ustaz, as well as all the speakers, the panelists, for your overview today. And we have some comments on Facebook. So let us just move on to the next thing. We will read the comments a bit later. However, let's move to our main topic of self-care and positive thinking. Viewers, please do remember to share your comments, or if you have any questions, so that our panelists can answer your questions later today. Yeah? Okay, so now we have seen the overview from our panelists. We are going to go a bit more deeper into exactly what today's topic is about on self-care and positive thinking. So, Dato', I'm going to move on to you. And so, Dato', as we all know that we just discussed work from home, having to do work from home, having to juggle with housework, having to take care of kids, spouse, elderly parents, everyone in one roof, I'm sure has been affecting a lot of us. So could you please share with us on how one can handle the stress caused by the COVID situation?
Right. Okay. These things that how you can help yourself. Definitely, this is an unwarranted or unforeseen circumstance that we are seeing this. Okay. The key word here is adapting to changes. Okay, of course, in our life, we have been adapting to a number of changes, to the various phases in our life, from childhood to adolescence, from adolescence to adulthood, and adulthood to elderly. Okay, we have been adapting to all these changes in the various phases of life, from being single to partners, from partners to parents, and from parents to in-laws, and from in-laws to grandparents. So we have been adjusting to all these phases, changes in life, but only thing, these are expected changes. We know that these are all part of life, and we are bound to face all these things. This COVID issue is an unforeseen and unexpected thing, but we should also accept that in our life, sometimes unexpected events do come in, and we must be prepared to adapt to these changes. As Confucius beautifully puts it, water shapes itself to the vessel that contains it. So a wise man adapts to circumstances. In fact, it is said that intelligence is superior adaptation to an ever-changing environment. So the mindset that we should develop at this point of time is, let me change. Which changes? This world is not going to change for me. I have to change with the needs of the world. So let me change. Let me try to adapt to these changes. If I fail, let me learn. Let me learn how to adapt to these changes. If I can't learn, let me get help. So this should be in our mindset that I should be adapting to these norms. Then only I can be successful in the current crisis that the whole world is feeling. Of course, there are also other strategies to adopt during this period of COVID pandemic. The other one is try to stick to routines. Of course, this lockdown and work from home and everybody under one roof now has brought up a lot of changes. But still, many of your routine life events, life activities, you can carry on. So as much as possible, stick to your routines. Okay, and then if there is ample time, that this is the time, I think you've got ample time to try new activities, new hobbies. Okay, some online courses that you have always longed to do, but no time, but now you have the time to do it, and new activities. Okay, so try to have some extra activities to keep the time occupied. Make sure you have a good sleep. Okay, sleep is a very good stress buster. Okay, and make sure that we sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a day, because okay, during sleep, okay, there are some healthy hormones or make you feel good hormones are secreted in the body, which makes you get relief from the stress. Take care during this period again. Take care of your appearance. Okay, dress up very well, maintain good hygiene, and look smart. Doesn't mean you are at home, you should be neglecting your appearance and hygiene. Okay, so take care of your health and appearance. Okay, exercise regularly. If there is an opportunity to do outdoor exercise, it is preferred. Of course, follow the standard operating procedures, which is highly recommended. Exercise again causes release of these feel-good hormones called endorphins. So it will reduce your stress levels. Okay, but of course, if outdoor exercise are not permitted, then do exercise in the house itself. Help with household chores. Okay, and then also have activities with the whole family. Now the whole family is under one roof. Have some games, have some activities where the whole family can participate. And in that games and activities, make sure laughter is an important component. Laugh your heart out during these activities and just enjoy those activities. Again, laughter is one of the best stress buster. Okay, they say laughter is a best medicine also. Okay, and then also stay connected. We are fortunate that we are living we have got a lot of social medias, so we can have contact with our friends, relatives, colleagues, and all. So stay connected with them. Okay, inquire about their health, their well-being, their emotions, and things like that, and share ideas. Okay, and what we call as okay, you can even form a self-help group. You can share ideas and comments how to deal with this crisis. Okay, you can have many heads put together. Okay, we'll get a wide range of ideas being evolved. And then there's something called, okay, have a worrying diary. Of course, there are issues to worry about. Okay, set aside some time, a time in a day to worry about your problems. And it's also best to write down. You write down all your worries. Okay, and then after you have done it, you can do two things. One is you can crumple the paper and throw into the waste paper basket as if you are shedding away your worries, or try to discuss with your families to find solutions for these problems that you have enlisted and how you intend to solve it. So again, this will help you to ventilate your disappointment and frustrations. Okay, just like you're going to maintain a worry diary, also maintain a gratitude diary. Okay, write down good things in your life that you have achieved in your life, and say thanks to all the people responsible for achieving that. God, your parents, relatives, and friends who have helped you to, okay, come up to this level in life. Okay, and then also focus mindfulness. This is again to distract yourself from the negative thoughts. Whatever you do, focus on it. Focus on your breathing. Focus on your footsteps. Focus on the food that you're eating. All these are going to, okay, help you to set aside your negative thoughts. Of course, it is lockdown, but many activities there is no lockdown. Okay, showing affection, love, family time, responsibilities, prayers, and more importantly, hope. that everything is going to come to an end and we are going to bounce back from all these difficulties. So again, have these thoughts that that many things are not under lockdown yet. Okay, and lastly, make sure don't believe to rumors, because these rumors are definitely going to take away your mental health. So only depend on credible sources. Okay, information from credible sources. And in my last session, I'll be talking about developing positive mental attitude. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Datuk. So what I really picked up is the world will not change for us. I think that's another very, very good tip. And you said that a wise man adapts to the circumstances. And what we should be telling ourselves is, I have to try, I have to adapt, and let me learn. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And obviously the worries part, there are two choices. Write your worries and either crush it and throw it away, that we have discarded our worries, or we really sit with our family, discuss what our worries are, and try to get solution. Thank you so much, Datuk. That was perfect. Thank you. And now, Dr. John.
Hi.
Could you please share with us on your experience in counseling with regards to the issues of the new normal?
Okay. Now, so humankind is facing a lot of difficulties and challenges. So likewise, as individuals, we do feel the pressure. And it is so very important that we continue to protect our mental health and even to grow our mental strength. So as far as mental strength is concerned, so there's mental resilience and mental fortitude. Mental resilience refers to the bounce back factor, because sometimes life will throw us a curveball. So we should bounce back. So how long do we take to bounce back is very, very important. Next is mental fortitude. It refers to the ability to keep on keeping on in spite of the difficulties, challenges, etc. Now, building strong mental health is a skill set, just like any other skill set. Look at you today. You practice, you study a particular subject, you work at it, and today, look at you today. You are in a job that you can create value and get compensated. So likewise, it is with building mental resilience and fortitude. So there are different strategies that we can adopt. And one of the strategies we can adopt is actually self-care. So self-care is not something that we do just on holiday. It's a disposition. It's an ongoing attitude that we care for ourselves. It is not a selfish act at all. So many of you are so caring for others, and you go the extra mile for others. So when you incorporate self-care, you're saying, me also. So you care for yourself. So you must find what works for you. And self-care is not wasted time at all. And I strongly believe that self-care actually multiplies your effectiveness and positive creativity. And many people do, if you observe cats, this remarkable resilient creature. So if you observe that, the cats do practice a lot of self-care. That's why they're always looking so neat, elegant, and so much in control. So do practice self-care and find what really works for you. For some, it could be baking, cooking for the family. For others, it could be exercise, working out in the gym, or joining Pilates, or even reading a book. Now, ultimately, you must find what works for you. So time spent, even recreation as form of self-care, is not wasted time. So that's one strategy that you and I can adopt. The other strategy is that we must practice mindfulness. So what exactly is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the practice of purposefully focusing your mind on the present and accepting it without judgment or even self-condemnation. So many people are very ensnared and trapped by the past. So I want to encourage all of us this and remember this. No amount of regrets of the past. We all do make mistakes. There's no human being that's never made a mistake. So no amount of regrets of the past, or self-beating of self, or beating of someone who may have done injustice to us can change the past. So we are burning very valuable creative energy into the past. So that is not constructive at all. And no amount of anxiety about the future can actually change the future, can contribute positively to the future. So we need to be mindful of the present and look at the situation, be mindful of it, and really enjoy the present moment instead of living anxiety of the future. So this is one strategy that we can adopt. And it is so very important. So the other strategy we ought to do constantly is actually a positive attitude change. Now it sounds so cliche, but yet it is very powerful. When it comes to positive attitude change, there is many factors governing this. I'll just be focusing on two, and some of which that our esteemed Dato has already shared. One of which is an attitude of gratitude. It is so powerful. An attitude of gratitude actually enables us to focus on what is doing well, what is going on well in our life. See, our lives is made up of different parts. Sure, we know life is not perfect. One or two areas may be challenged, and we do go through challenges from time to time. But do not allow that challenge, that area, spill over to the rest and say that our life is really bad. The truth is, the life that you're leading right now is the dream life of someone else, somewhere in the world. So we need to cultivate this attitude of gratitude. We need to say thank you. We need to show appreciation. I notice this, the more I appreciate people, what they've done to me, any acts of kindness, etc., and I show appreciation, and I find that more people want to do good to me. So an attitude of gratitude focuses on what is going well in your life. It's so important, and it enables you to compartmentalize issue. All right, the other part of a positive attitude change is actually a sense of humor. Cultivating a sense of humor is so strategic and important. Studies have shown it eases, relieves stress, it boosts your immune system, and a host of great benefits. So even you don't feel like smiling, all right, do try to smile. According to cognitive behavior therapy model, our thoughts leads to our emotions. Our emotions leads to our behavior, whether conscious or unconscious, and it gives us physical sensation. So right now, even don't feel like smiling, just smile. Okay, just smile. All right, just smile. Smile deeper. See, you're already feeling better already. Okay, so that is what it can do to us. So be mindful of this. All right. So sense of humor is very, very important. Don't take yourself too seriously. All right. Be kind to yourself. Be compassionate to yourself. Forgive yourself. And we must not have this notion that I used to have in my younger days. I'm young.
You're still
younger
young.
days. Yes. Thank you. I had this notion. All right. I must be perfect in all the things I do. But I find that the attitude of a professional spirit becomes like a slave driver. And it leaves me no rest. I'm always feeling uptight and angry. And later on, I have this inside revelation that the spirit of excellence is a lot better. It lifts me higher and higher without collateral damage to myself and to the people around about me. So be kind to yourself. It is okay to cut yourself some slack. And please remember this. And later on, I'll be showing you an example how you can actually deal with debilitating thoughts. All of us from time to time do experience this, a blast from the past. So how are you going to deal with it? So our mind, our brain is wired up for one thing, that's survival. And that's why we have a greater propensity to remember negative things and dwell on negative things. And we need to rewire our thinking process. So remember this, and do guide your imagination. Don't imagine the worst of everything, whatever you hear, etc. Yes, I understand about worst case scenario planning. So the next time you hear something or see something that's not pleasant, you begin to think of the worst case scenario. It's going to take a tremendous toll on your mental health. So what you and I need to do is step out of it and observe. Is it really that bad? And begin to think how we can mitigate and turn around the issue. So remember this, your life is so precious. So regardless what you're facing right now, you can break through. So do live happy, live long and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John. So, Dr. John, this is what I picked up. Self-care, always me also, so you're saying do take care of ourselves. It creates or brings in positive creativity, which you kind of, the analogy was with the cats. And then be mindful of the present, enjoy the present, very well said. Obviously, attitude of gratitude. I think this I can totally resonate with. I have a few friends who always tell me, do you know how blessed you are?
Very good.
Do you know how many people out there don't have what you have? So instead of saying that, how I wish I could have this, how I wish I could get that, first count your blessings, thank God for what you have before you ask for what else you need. So I can resonate with that. My friends have told me
Indeed,
that.
well said.
Yeah, and then sense of humor. Yeah, just now when you were saying, we all in the studio started laughing. So thank you so much to make us smile and be kind to yourself. That is something our life coach always tells us. Be kind to yourself. And in fact, she tells me, first think what Amita wants. And every time I do that, I have to stop myself and like, what does Amita want? And it really helps me. So thank you so much, Dr. John. Can resonate with that. All right. Okay. So I'm going to move on to Ustaz Mizi. Ustaz Mizi, could you please share? And how would you motivate us into positive thinking?
Well, I actually felt very motivated listening to Dr. John. It's just how I was doing everything he said, told me to do. So, it works. So it's actually a lot simpler. I guess among the points the doctor was trying to convey is that trying to reduce stress, if you overthink it, you will become even more stressed.
Yes.
Right? How do I become calmer? Oh, I need to do this. I need to do 10 things. But sometimes it's a lot simpler than that. And if we learn from the experts, and if we try not to put too much pressure on ourselves, like what Amita said too, like be kind to yourself. It's so powerful, it's so simple, so profound, and yet a lot of people tend to overlook it. For some people, it actually sounds weird. When I talk about self-love and self-care, sometimes people are like, "But Ustaz, how do I practice self-love?" They don't even know how to do it.
Yeah.
To them, it sounds like a very strange concept. Why? Well, obviously, when they were young, when they were raised in an environment where nobody actually either taught them how to take care of themselves, how to live themselves, or they never saw anyone at home who practiced self-care.
Yes.
For example, the most common thing they saw, and these were, their idols, right? Their parents, their father, hardworking, right? Works 6 days a week, for example, makes all the sacrifices. And you think that is the ideal example that you must follow, that you have to follow in his footsteps, that this is your mold, your exemplar, and I need to be just like him. And then you realize, like halfway through your career, you're like, how did my dad do this? But I need to do this. When instead, you are actually different. You are a part of him, but you're not him. You are you, right? And so you need to have, like what Datuk mentioned earlier in his first part, he said about self-awareness. I love that topic of self-awareness. I think it's so important that we must all be self-aware. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Where am I comfortable? Where am I not comfortable? Right? What am I willing to do? What I'm not willing to do? And these are all questions that we can sit down and self-reflect and ask ourselves in order for us to have a better self-control, right? And when we know what we can do, we know where our limits are, we will be able to appreciate ourselves more, okay? And here's the wonderful thing that I've learned too over the years, is that when you take care of yourself, Amita, in front of your friends and loved ones, you are indirectly teaching them how to take care of you, how to treat you. Because they say, oh, Amita doesn't, for example, she doesn't take sugary food so much, for example. She's laughing, so perhaps that's the opposite of the example. But perhaps that's an example, right? And then, then the next time, they want to serve you something, they'll give you something that's reduced sugar, for example, right? Because why? Because you've indirectly taught everyone around you that, that's how I take care of myself, that's how I love myself, and so on and so forth. So, I think these are some things that we can definitely practice, we can share, we can do them bit by bit, okay? So ask yourself, how do I want to be treated? Okay? And instead of just expecting other people to treat you that way, you begin by treating yourself that way. Be kind to yourself. What are some of the things you can do? Stop saying that I'm such a failure, I'm such a disappointment in the family, I'm not as good as my siblings, or, I'll never get that promotion at work, everybody's working 10 times harder than I am, they're more qualified than me, and so on and so forth. Stop being so hard on yourself. Be kinder by first, saying nicer things about yourself, to yourself, okay? Say that I'm good, and I'm amazing, and I'm blessed. I'm supposed to be where I am today. I don't need to be married, settled down, have kids now, even though everyone else is already doing that. This is my own timeline, this is my own life, and I'm embracing it. Okay? Like everybody has, a big shiny possession like a car, a big house, and everything, and you're not there yet. Doesn't mean you'll never get there. Doesn't mean that you even need to have all of those things. Self-worth begins from you. Instead of trying to search everywhere else for something external that will fill in the gaps, the emptiness, the hollowness on the inside that makes you feel inferior and insufficient, stop doing that and start searching for yourself. Going back to self-awareness, right? And being grateful. I love also, you mentioned about gratitude. I think all the speakers have mentioned about gratitude, right? In a world right now that is filled with so much uncertainty, people losing their jobs, people who lost their job, I heard some of them like, oh, I just got a job. And then 3 months later, I bump into them, oh, I lost that job too. It's really sad, it's really tough, and it's a lot of pressure at home. But you know what, again, if you sit down and you have a pity party and you feel sorry for yourself and you keep wondering when are things going to turn around for me, it's not really going to help your situation. Ask different types of questions. The questions you ask yourself will actually show you the way to your destiny, like your future. Ask the right questions and you'll be shown the right pathways to get to where you need to be. Okay? But first and foremost, gratitude one more time, right? This is so important. I need to highlight this again because, we've all probably cried about our problems before. Doctor doesn't look like he's cried about his problems. He's always happy, right? But, we've all cried about certain problems, hardships, setbacks in our lives before. But have we ever been so grateful about some blessings in our lives that we've shed tears out of gratitude? Have we ever experienced that before? That's a real deep connection with the source of all goodness, with the source of all blessings. We feel really connected with everything around us. It's the small things, the things we often neglect and overlook, we take for granted. It could be that we have a roof over our head, right? Sometimes people say, oh, I got bills to pay. You've got bills to pay. It means that you have a house, right? I have mess all over the house. It means you have children, right? It's always really about what you look at and the perspective that you have with regards to all of that. So, guys, let's try to count our blessings, as cliche as it sounds. If you start doing that, you will be a lot happier too.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Ustaz. So I think tonight, that's something I'm going to do.
Yes. Instead of counting sheep, count your blessings.
And deep connection with my heart, and I'm
Yeah.
going to see if I can shed some tears,
Yes.
being grateful with what I'm blessed with.
Yes. And then update me, okay? If it works.
All right, okay. Just now when you mentioned about the sugarless drink and I giggled, right?
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Why?
I went to this famous coffee shop and I ordered for an iced coffee. And straight away the person is like, less sugar. I was like, do I look like that? Like less sugar, that kind. So I think, just the way you carry yourself, probably people just
That's true.
think like, you are this. So
Yeah.
that was the reason. It's not that I go for sugar. No, I don't. But yeah, I got treated without even telling. That
Yeah.
was the reason.
That's
So
good. I hope you will never come to a place where they ask you more sugar.
all right, later. Okay, so I think just also the few other points that I picked up was you are you, self-reflect, be kind to yourself, and self-worth begins from you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ustaz. All right, okay, so we have some questions. I'm going to read out some questions. So, Dato, this question is for you, Dato. The viewer's name is Hazik Khalid. Hazik Khalid has written, "Hi Dr. Swaminathan, you spoke about needing to adapt to changes and sticking to routines. What if my in bracket job routine is disrupted as I am on no pay leave due to COVID? How to stay positive because everything is not going my way? Could you please help, Dato?"
He says, of course, income is going to be affected, and any alternative plans are there. situation. Okay, and okay, any other? So I have to, of course, I have to need more information to say that. Of course, of course, that's a positive thinking is not always positive to, I mean, possible to be achieved in some drastic circumstances. Okay, and so I need to know some additional information about what are your alternative plans, any other source of income. Okay, and how long is this no pay leave is going to be? Yes, of course, this is definitely a great source of stress for you. And I know in these such situations, I do not know what your how alternatively positive thinking can be considered. But think about some alternative jobs. Okay, we have seen people looking for alternative job. I think even in Malaysia, we heard about people who have been grounded, pilots who lost their job in airlines. Okay, they become Grab drivers. They become drivers. At least take up something for the time being. Okay, and tide over the situation. Okay, and do not be very selective at this point. Do not talk about your ego and your on what is your past reputation. Okay, what's important is tiding over the situation. And okay, so take up any other jobs that comes in the way. Even I know of even close friends of mine who have been high achievers. Okay, and now they're doing security job, the security officers, personnel things because okay, at this point of time that we must not be very calculative and achieving in what we want. Rather than we must be happy with, rather than being happy at what we want, we must be happy with what we get. Okay, and that is another adaptation that you should adapt. I hope I have answered your question, sir.
Thank you. Dr. John, would you want to add something other than what Datuk has mentioned?
Yes, I'm sorry that what you have been going through, and you mentioned that your routine of going to work has been disrupted, and I can empathize with that. And when routines are disrupted, it is important to try to develop new routines. So during this time, while you're looking for a better opportunity and alternative income, like what Dato have mentioned, I will encourage you that at the time that's available, you can actually focus on acquiring a new skill set. And there's many good online courses that are very available. You can actually access those courses, and a number of courses are actually quite free without charge at all. So in other words, you're making very good use of your time during this particular season. And then secondly, it is very important to guard your mental health, because a lot of thoughts will come to you. You can even feel self-condemned. So you need to be mindful of all these thoughts that may come to you and sort of attack you and discourage you further. So do make use of this time that you may have and continue to enrich yourself by reading very good books, self-enrichment books, catching up with your friends, etc. It's okay. You are just going through this season. And remember, like they say, all storms will eventually cease. But we need not wait for the rain to stop in order for us to celebrate life and make better use of the time. So I wish you well, and it will work out for you somehow. Just believe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. John. Ustaz, there's a question. There's a viewer who's asking, there's a viewer who's asking, I'm surrounded by negativity. Okay, how do I cope with it?
Okay. So, yeah, I think it's quite common for sometimes we may find ourselves in situations where the people around us are negative. This could be something that is at home. It could be in the workplace. In fact, just a few minutes ago, somebody texted me a question. I get DMs all the time on Instagram, people telling me about their problems, asking questions. And somebody just said that, you know, I love my job, but I can't stand the people around me. Ustaz, what do I do? You know. So I think there are a few things. The obvious option is if you can leave that place, perhaps, then that may be one option. But here's another perspective that I always like to say is that sometimes you may try to wish away the problems around you. You wish that the people around you who are negative, who are mean to you, who are toxic, for them all to disappear, for them to change jobs, for them to not be your neighbor anymore, for them to not be related to you anymore, right? If that is even possible, right? Sometimes you try to wish the negativity away, wish the negative people away. But here's another way of looking at it. What if God is actually more interested in trying to see a change in you instead of a change in your environment? You've been wishing for your environment to change, but in fact, the tests are really for you to try to develop something within yourself, to have more resilience, to have more grit, to try to drown yourself with more positivity, consume more positive content. There's so much of it online today. Read some books that can get you really passionate and interested about something you love. When your mind is so engrossed in something that you love, something you're passionate about, there will be lesser room for the negativity to seep in and affect you. So, those are some things that you can do. I also like to encourage you to practice some positive affirmations. Okay, it might sound silly sometimes, but if you say it enough, it will affect you just as how a smile, like Dr. John said, if you just smile for no reason, when you're driving alone, no one else is in the car, just smile. Don't care if the people, beside you start laughing at you or looking weird at you. It makes you feel good. And to me, that is the most important thing. All right? So I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, Ustaz. Datuk, I have a question for you. There's a viewer who's asking, how do I know if someone is depressed, not stressed?
Okay, stress is not an illness. Okay, stress is a cause for other illnesses. Okay, so they say that stress, especially if it's prolonged, as in the case of COVID, okay, COVID issue is a source of chronic stress. And if this chronic stress is not properly handled and coped up with, then eventually it is going to give rise to a lot of mental health issues as well as even physical health. They say nowadays we know that even chronic stress can be a predisposing factor for heart attacks. Okay, they say people with a myocardial infarct, okay, do have a lot of stress about 6 months prior to the having the heart attack and all. So chronic stress, okay, where we are having where this stress that we are facing, it's ongoing, but then it is not significantly affecting our daily activities. We are under stress, we are somewhat distressed and suffering, but we are still able to carry out with our daily activities. Okay, we can go to work, we can maintain relationship, okay, and maybe our sleep, appetite and all is not significantly affected. Then we say that we are experiencing stress, which is not amounting to a disorder yet. But when you are having depression, when a chronic stress is badly handled, if you are not able to handle it, then eventually we can develop conditions like anxiety disorders that Dr. John put it, anxiety disorders and also depression. Well, depression, then if the symptoms are quite bad and it is lasting for a period of time, okay, especially the symptoms of depression include, okay, that a feeling of sadness, which is an unbearable sadness. It's different from normal sadness. It is something more lousy feeling. Okay, and then the other symptoms are also there to diagnose depression. Then the other one is loss of interest in all your pleasurable activities, whatever hobbies that you were enjoying before. Nowadays, don't give you the pleasure. A feeling of tiredness, a low energy level. It is not physical tiredness, but emotional tiredness. You don't feel like doing anything. Sleep problems is another symptom of depression. Especially, you will have a condition called early morning awakening, where you can fall asleep, but you will wake up around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. This is another symptom of depression. Then reduced appetite is another symptom. And then unable to focus or concentrate. Okay, and then you may also have some behavioral changes. You don't feel like talking to anyone. You like to isolate yourself, what we call a social withdrawal. Or you may even become unusually irritable and angry. Normally, you're not a person who is short-tempered, but nowadays you feel that you are getting angry and you can appreciate this. This is not me. Nowadays, I'm getting angry and irritable for trivial reasons. Even I'm very sensitive to sounds, right? And then we can call this another symptom of depression. And then more importantly, you will have negative thoughts. When you are depressed, when you are depressed in your heart, an example, when you are depressed in your heart, You will have negative thoughts called depressive thoughts. You may feel that you are of no use to others, worthlessness. You may feel that your condition is beyond help, nobody can help you, helplessness. And then you may even feel that there is no future for you, hopelessness. Okay, and the most severe depressive thoughts that you can have is a wish to die. Okay, a wish to die, or and even suicidal thoughts. And this is the most serious thing that can happen. So if you have five of these symptoms, they say usually five of these symptoms lasting for a period of time and significantly affecting your daily life, affecting your work, affecting your relationship, affecting your daily activities, then we have room to believe that you have already gone in for a depressive illness.
Dr. John, there's a question for you. And the question is, how do I know if I might be having major depressive disorder and not just being sad? I think it's about the same.
Yes.
Just would you want to share a bit more
Yes.
on your side, please?
Dato is cover a number of symptoms, and according to qualify for a possible diagnosis of clinical depression, you must experience 5 of those symptoms consistently over 2 weeks. And as those symptoms that Dato has already covered. So the term you use is major depressive disorder. How do you know you are experiencing major depressive disorder? Now, clinical depression, when not treated, will escalate to major depressive disorder. So when someone is under major depressive disorder, what is consistent in their thoughts is suicide ideation, even attempts to commit suicide. So when someone experiences major depressive disorder, so the last creative act of the person is to commit suicide. So usually it will lead to that. So in fact, anyone through practice, through proper treatment, can come up from this particular cycle. So the practice of mindfulness is very, very important. And oftentimes, if you find yourself sinking deeper and deeper into depression, you must catch yourself there and introduce an interruption, a so-called circuit breaker. Well, the word circuit breaker is not so popular nowadays, but nevertheless, it's true. So if I find myself getting depressed, what I try to do is to introduce into my thought process what I term as a positive distractor. Like Dato say, that when you are depressed, you lose interest in many things called apathy. So what used to interest you, you no more find interest. So the process of coming out from a major depressive disorder is a journey. But nevertheless, you still can come out of it. So there's a lot of powerful little things that you can practice that can contribute and improve your well-being. Simple things like taking a walk under warm sunlight is quite helpful as well. So do be mindful of this, practice mindfulness. So every time you find your mood sinking deeper and deeper into an abyss, and it's a downward spiral, to catch yourself, introduce a positive distractor. And very, very important, if you already has been diagnosed with clinical depression, you must continue in the treatment process. And as you get better, perhaps you should combine with counseling as well. And counseling helps to mitigate certain thoughts that are not constructive or even self-destructive. So remember this, regardless of the past experiences that may contribute to your current condition, your life is very, very precious. Your life can still turn around and you still can have your dreams realized. So dream new dreams and have new visions, and you will break through eventually. So keep well.
Thank you, Dr. John. Thank you, Dr. John. Ustaz.
Yes.
There's a viewer who has said that, Ustaz, I feel you with work from home and homeschool. Many times I feel like withdrawing into a cave because my wife and kids are so loud. I love them, but it's not convenient for my work and my inner peace. Could you just add a bit, please?
Man, I can feel this, brother. So I have 4 little kids actually, so they're all still very young. And obviously you can't have a Zoom meeting with a circus playing behind you, you know. But you cope, you manage. And I think one thing that we need to understand, that even though these are our loved ones, it is perfectly fine for us to let them know that, hey, can I ask for 30 minutes of just no interruptions? I just need to be on my own. It doesn't even have to be work. I just need to have some space during the day so that I can gather my thoughts or be on my doing something on my own, and you can seek permission. You can explain why you need this and why it's important. And in fact, suggest that everyone else have that moment for themselves too. Okay? Because yes, it can get a bit too overwhelming. And yes, we do love our family, but if it's all the time, it's constant, it's non-stop, then it will get to you. And well, like Datuk mentioned earlier, you get easily agitated. All the little noises in the background annoy you easily. You know that this is not normal. And when you know that this could, increase the possibility of you perhaps overreacting and even starting to hurt your loved ones through your words or actions, then that's when you start to perhaps draw, I call this healthy boundaries, right? You draw a line and say that, okay, this is my space and I need this for an hour a day, and this is yours and you can have it for an hour a day, and so on and so forth. And when you have a partner, if you have kids in this case, talk to your partner and explain that, okay, let's be fair to each other. You're going to have your space and I'm going to have mine. And when I'm having my space, you take care of the family. And when you're doing it, I'm going to take care of them. And that's how we survive, and that's how we thrive, and that's how we come back stronger during these difficult times.
Thank you, Ustaz. Datuk, I have a question for you. I think it's kind of similar to the previous one. For anxiety issues, do I see a counselor or a psychiatrist?
Right. Of course, during these COVID issues, you may have anxiety due to various reasons. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's because of safety aspects, financial issues, and things like that. Many a times, it is just anxiety due to that situation. Then we call that as adjustment disorder with anxious mood. Okay, that the anxiety is because of that event. If that event is no longer there, the anxiety will not be there. If that is the picture, you need only counseling. Okay, you need only counseling and some form of talk therapy. Usually, treatment is not required. But on the other hand, sometimes this anxiety may be overwhelming, especially the anxiety that is related to this COVID can be, there's a condition called generalized anxiety disorder, where you will be constantly worried about this COVID issue, about your future, about the well-being, about your family, and these worries are described as excessive. You are unable to snap out of it. These worries keeps coming to you. You are constantly thinking about these issues, and you are constantly in an anxiety mood. And because of that, you are unable to sleep. You are unable to concentrate on your daily activities. You feel unusually tired, and you are unable to feel relaxed. You are always edgy. Most of the time, you are feeling edgy. Then this condition is something that's already an anxiety disorder that needs to be treated. Okay, so that's one anxiety disorder that needs to be treated by a psychiatrist with medication as well as also talk therapy. Then you can also develop another anxiety disorder called obsessive compulsive disorder, which is also possible during this COVID period, where you constantly have thoughts that your body is infested by the virus. You're contaminated by the virus, and you're constantly thinking your hands are also contaminated by the virus. You know that these thoughts are all silly and irrational thoughts, but then you cannot stop these thoughts. These thoughts keeps coming and torturing you, and you are compelled to wash your hands again and again, and you are compelled to bathe again and again. But you know that there is no basis for you to do this. These thoughts are all silly and irrational thoughts, but you're unable to stop these thoughts. And because of this, you're compelled to wash your hands and body again and again. This is again another psychiatric disorder called obsessive compulsive disorder that needs to be treated. Okay, and lastly, you may develop a condition, another anxiety disorder called phobophobia. It's possible, where you are afraid to meet people, you are afraid to touch things, you are afraid to come out of your room. You will resort to avoidance behavior because you are afraid, okay, anyone outside there may be having the COVID virus and I will be contaminated by them. Even if you know that they are safe, you still do not want to mingle with them. You just isolate yourself and avoid all your relatives, friends, family members, and social situations, which again can cause disruption in your life. So this is again another psychiatric disorder, anxiety disorder that needs to be treated. So generalized anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, and phobic disorder. These three needs to be treated by a psychiatrist, whereas adjustment disorder can be handled by a counselor. Yes.
It's been very comprehensive. So your question, when should you see a counselor versus a psychiatrist? So we all know by now, looking at Dato, a psychiatrist is a trained medical professional that uses medication as a form of treatment. So, and whereas a counselor is a professional trained to give inputs to mitigate certain thoughts, a cycle of thoughts that's not helpful or even self-destructive. And if, of course, if someone hit that stage of psychiatric disorders, seeing a counselor is not exactly useful. And we all do feel anxious from time to time, and it is so very important that we recognize those triggers and buttons. So when you speak to a counselor, the counselor can actually help you identify those triggers and buttons that trigger off the cycle of anxiety. And it is so important you recognize that, because all of us, we have primary emotions and secondary emotions. And oftentimes our secondary emotions could be just is anxiety, but what is actually the primary emotion? We need to recognize all this. So seeing a counselor, the role of the counselor is to mitigate certain cycles of negative and self-destructive thoughts even, and also to help you to realize and facilitate your potential. So it is a process, and I hope that answers your question, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Dr. John. Ustaz, what are some tips I can use from the religious aspect or not to make sure that the external factors won't affect me negatively?
Very good question. I think what we can try to do is to try to mentally and emotionally detach from the things that are causing us much anxiety, worry, and stress. You see, there are a lot of people, events that happen around us on a daily basis where we sometimes attach ourselves to them too closely. We even think that they are us, they are a part of us. You know, this could be somebody in our lives. When they do something wrong, we take the blame too. Okay? When our business fails, we go down with it as well, all the way to the ground. You know, sometimes it's important for us to try to mentally say that, okay, you know, I have a business, but I am not my business. I have a job, but I am not my job. You know, even, in fact, I have thoughts and feelings, but I am not those. You know, they come and go, right? So that gives you a better sense of, okay, I have some semblance of control in terms of what I allow to enter into my life or what I don't allow to enter into my life. What I allow and I give license to affect me, and what I don't give license to affect me. Okay? I'll give you simple examples, right? Like, you know, I can be a very calm person, Amita, generally speaking, right? People often say that, Ustaz, you're very calm, cool, very relaxed person. But if there's one situation where I always get stressed, is when on the road, when I'm driving. Is it relatable to you guys? Yeah.
I don't drive.
You don't drive. So sometimes that I don't know why, that still is a little bit of a problem, but I'm improving, making improvements. So, you know, I noticed that when somebody just cuts in front of you without signaling, or somebody refuses to give way, even though you've been signaling for the last 20 seconds, for whatever reason, it annoys you, right? But sometimes you can just, here's another trick, you can also rationalize, like, well, maybe they're in a hurry because their wife is about to give birth. Maybe they're in a hurry, they're having diarrhea, so they need to use the toilet immediately, right? So make something up in your head so that, you know, because we tend to jump to conclusions and we think the worst of people. We say that, oh, they're probably like that because they're just being, you know, so arrogant, or they think they're entitled to do whatever they want on the road, and so on and so forth. But instead, let's just think well of others and rationalize and come up with reasons that would reduce the need for your anger. It suppresses your anger and makes you a lot calmer. I hope that helps a bit.
All right. Thank you, Ustaz. Thank you so much, viewers, for sending your questions. Thank you so much, panelists, for really taking think I have learned a lot. Those certain tips and conversations have been intensive, but I think that's what we are dealing with today. And it gives the intensity of what's the situation like. All right, okay. So we will be moving to our final segment, which is we're going to ask some concluding remarks from our panelists. So, sorry, just a second. All right. I'm sorry. I got stuck. Okay. So yes, we would definitely be asking our panelists for some concluding remarks. But before that, I just want to let our viewers know that, as you know, this is a three-episode series, and we are going to look into what's the topic that we are going to be talking about next week. So this is going to be our topic. Viewers, as you will see, that's another interesting topic for the next week, which is on mental health of elderly and their caregivers. I'm sure we will learn a lot and we need it. All right, so back to our panelists. Datuk, this is for you on what's your concluding remarks on developing positive mental attitude.
Right. Okay, Amita, I think Ustad and Dr. John has beautifully talked about very simple ways to adopt a positive mental health approach. Down-to-earth ideas have already been given. Just let me just add a few here. It's just that that positive mental health is not distortion of reality. You must realize that it's not distortion of reality. It's not denying a problem or sweeping the problem under the carpet. Okay, that is not positive mental health. Okay, positive mental health is acknowledging the problem. Okay, accepting a problem, but then finding ways to overcome the problem and deal with it. So in positive mental attitude, we don't see problems. The people take it as an opportunity or a challenge in their life. So positive mental health does not mean that if it is a problem, admit it is a problem. It is difficult, but then you are willing to try. Okay, a negative thinker will be thinking it is difficult, sure fail, no point trying, waste of time, waste of money, waste of energy. This is what the stream of thinking in a patient is negative thinking. But in a positive thinker, he will admit, yes, it is difficult, but it has to be dealt with. It is worth trying. I must try to overcome it. I must find ways to overcome it. If I couldn't find ways, I must seek help. Okay, I cannot see it as a problem. I must focus on the solutions. Okay, let me see it as an opportunity. Let me see it as a challenge in my life. So that is what positive thinking is all about. But so it's not a distortion of reality or even we cheat ourselves. When it's really difficult, accept it as difficult. And positive thinking does not mean that it should always make you happy. Not necessarily. Because sometimes positive thinking should also evoke negative emotions. And sometimes negative emotions are productive. They help you to handle a situation better. Okay, I think just now Ustaz was saying, you need some amount of anxiety or fear in order to perform something in an optimal way. Okay, this some amount of anxiety helps you to handle the situation in a better way, okay, which will increase productivity. So some amount of anxiety or negative emotions is essential. Of course, too much of anxiety or too much of sadness definitely will be affecting our performance. So how to develop a positive mental attitude? Okay, maintain a diary, identify your negative thoughts. Okay, identify your negative thoughts and learn to ignore it. Okay, that's one, learn to ignore it. And number two, identify these thoughts and see whether you can challenge these thoughts by alternative positive thinking. Okay, some acceptable thinking can be countered to these thoughts. And then also, as Ustaz has now mentioned, in your daily life, practice positive thinking. Okay, try to see good things about yourself, good things about your relationship, good things about your job, okay, about your daily activities and about your whole life. Okay, I used to always compare, that our life to a rose plant. In a rose plant, we have plenty of thorns. But is there anyone who don't like the rose plant? Okay, even though there are plenty of thorns, we all of us love the rose plant because in spite of the thorns, we are also getting beautiful fragrant flowers. Our life is like that. We may have a lot of problems in our life, but there are also beautiful aspects in our life to cherish upon. Okay, so develop this positive mental attitude towards your life. Okay, and keep visualizing in imagination that success is ahead. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, think that everything is going to be okay eventually. Develop this positive thinking and be with people who are positive. Be with people and relatives who are positive thinkers. Avoid negative thinkers who can be demotivating and demoralizing you. Avoid them. And there are plenty of books, as Ustaz mentioned, about positive thinking written by Norman Vincent Peale, okay, Daniel Goleman, okay, and Dale Carnegie and Brian Tracy. Okay, read these books, and there are also translation of these books are available. Okay, to keep you motivated towards positive thinking. And again, we are fortunate to see that plenty of motivational videos are now circulating in WhatsApp and in social media. This will also be another source of inspiration. Okay, so by these methods, you can cultivate this positive thinking attitude. My concluding remark is this. Okay, that all this is to help yourself, how you can help yourself without professional help. But due to some unfortunate reasons, due to some predisposing factors and other factors, you can go into for mental health problems. And in these situations, please seek help. Do not suffer in silence. Please seek help from a mental health professional. All the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dato'. Thank you so much. Okay, and now over to you, Dr. John.
Okay. I have illustration that I like to share with all of us so that we can learn together in the area of good, healthy, positive thinking. Let me share something about positive and very optimistic people. They do have negative thoughts. They do have thoughts that is toxic, but they've just learned to process it a lot better, and they made the choice to incline themselves to positivity, because at the end of the day, outcome matters the most. Now, all of us, we have experienced this, a blast from the past. So the longer we live, we are going to have a lot more memories. So memories can be positive or negative or even traumatic. I mentioned earlier on, our brain is wired up for survival. So that's why it's a greater propensity to retain, to rehearse negative things because you need to survive. So what should we do? Should we have a blast from the past? Because our brain cannot, will react accordingly. It cannot tell whether it's happening now or in the past. And the emotions will come forth accordingly. So let's say you have a traumatic event that happened to you, let's say 6 years ago, and it comes back to you, and you're going to feel the exact same kind of difficult emotions. So what should you and I do? So I have this illustration. This is empty glass, and yet we know it's not empty because air occupies space. So oftentimes when people has a blast from the past, they know I cannot think this thought, I don't want to think about it, but I can't help it. So what they do, figuratively speaking, they try to get rid of those thoughts by doing this, just like I'm trying to get rid of the air by doing this. So if I keep doing this, guess what? I'm going to get more upset, I'm going to be in a higher state of difficult emotions. So what should I do? I displace it. Okay, so as I begin to pour water, in other words, I am mindful. I train my mind to incline to positivity. I am displacing it. Oh, but John, I can blank out my mind. Well, we cannot really blank out our mind because there's still a subconscious mind going on. It's just like when you exit an application on your smart device, and we know it's still operating on the background, sapping precious limited battery power. So you need to perform 1 or 2 more steps to shut it down. So likewise, we must learn to displace it. And that's what the counselors at my counseling center, Singapore Counseling Center, does. Their role is to mitigate certain thoughts, helping them to change their perspective. A matter of time, those traumatic thoughts, difficult thoughts that give difficult emotions are displaced. But because as long as we're alive, we're going to hear negativity. We're going to experience certain things that's less than desirable. So what happens is akin to me introducing a drop of ink into this glass of clear water. So given time, it begins to saturate the whole brain because sometimes we fail to compartmentalize the issue. Remember, if we're angry at something, we should not take it out on others. That is not the source of the anger. It's very damaging to relationship. So the reason why the teenager is behaving in such a way that's not conducive to the personal development is because a dominant thought has laid hold of that teenager. And that's why whatever it does, this comes out from them. So likewise, we may have come across people, they speak with eloquent, certain language is less than desirable, they swear, they cuss very often. It's because there's certain dominant thoughts they are not managing too well. So whatever they does, when they open their mouth, a lot of torrent of negativity will flow out. So what should we do? It's the same process, okay? And notice it becomes lighter, and if there's enough water, matter of time becomes clearer and clearer, and becomes clear again. So as long as you and I are alive, we must practice this often. So the next time when you drink water, do remember this illustration. It is so very, very important. So you and I may face challenges from time to time. In certain seasons, it's more difficult. But remember, life is wonderful. It is a wonderful gift that we all have. And no matter how long we live, our lifespan is still limited. So do keep well. Practice self-care, develop positive thinking, and live happy, live long, and prosper. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. John. Wow, I love that. I think that would leave a long-term impression on me, something to remember. And it's just like whenever I'm going through those emotions, I think it's good. Thank you so much. Ustaz.
Yes.
Okay, concluding remarks on today's topic.
I also want to
and
try
positive
to
thinking.
have a lasting impression on you. Can I do something? No, I'm just
Do
kidding.
you want
I'm
me?
just kidding.
Okay.
I think, wow, I mean, I loved all the demos and the pointers, the wisdom from Dato as well as Doctor. I think my concluding remarks would be this. If you're going through a really difficult time, please do not hesitate to ask for help, to reach out for help. I know there's a lot of stigma out there about people with mental health. You're afraid to tell people about your problems, your pain, and you suffer alone. You suffer in silence. I know a lot of people that they're screaming, but they're screaming inside their heads. Nobody else can hear it. They're afraid that if they bring it up, people are going to look at them differently. People are going to judge them. Some of them even think that they might lose their jobs if they start going to the doctor, seeking help, seeing a therapist, and so on and so forth. I think the most important person you need to take care of right now is yourself. Even if you have, let's say, oh, there's so much stress, I have to go to work, I have to take care of my elderly parents, I have children at home. You need to understand one thing. You can never take care of anyone else if you don't first take care of yourself. The most common example would be if you're on the plane, which I miss being on a plane, by the way. It's been so long, I can't travel. But when you're on a plane and when you have a child with you, they always say that in an emergency, always put on the safety stuff on yourself first. Because you cannot save someone else if you yourself are not able to breathe properly. Okay? So on that note, I hope we will be kind to ourselves and we will reach out for help when we need help. Okay? Take care and God bless.
Thank you so much, Ustaz. Thank you so much to all our panelists. This marks the end of our first episode of Healthy Mind, Stress-Free Life. I hope this first episode has been beneficial to everyone. Before we go, I would like to inform viewers of our current campaign at Jamia Singapore. Do support our food bank food donation drive. And meanwhile, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, speakers. Thank you to our viewers. See you again, same time next week on 29th of January, Friday at 8 p.m. on Jamia's Facebook as well as YouTube Live. And our topic is going to be mental health of elderly and their caregivers. Meanwhile, have a restful night and a great weekend, and good night from Jamia Singapore. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.